Hello out there, and today I'm going to be telling the story of why I no longer purchase products from Gerber. And this is one that I've briefly mentioned in previous videos, talked about a bad experience that I've had with them, but I never really got into detail, and recently a few people have asked me to go into detail, and I figured now would be a good time to do that. You know, I've got a ton of knife reviews on the way, and this will be a nice change of pace for the channel, I think. So a fun little video that'll also give you some in-depth background as to why I feel the way that I feel. And over the course of this video, I will be bringing in some knives that you will be seeing in future videos, so a little bit of a sneak preview here as well. But the knife that we have to start with is this Gerber Paraframe 2. And this Paraframe 2 is basically the first knife that I got in my collection. When I decided I wanted to get into knives, Gerber was the most accessible and inexpensive brand out there. And so, you know, Gerber, for me, like a ton of other people, worked really well in that I was able to get a bunch of different knives for low prices and get an idea of what kind of blade shape I would like and what kind of handle shape and materials and, frame lock versus liner lock versus back lock, all those sorts of things, serrations and no serrations. And it worked out really, really well. My first 15, 20 knives were all Gerbers, and it was great. But then I picked up a Kershaw, and then I picked up a CRKT, and I realized that for just a little bit more money, you could get a much, much better knife. And so that's where I started to gravitate. I started to get away from Gerbers, and eventually I was just almost done with them altogether. And then I think it was 2013. 2013, I saw that there were a number of new Gerbers coming out, and a couple of them were interesting, and I figured I'm going to pick these guys up. They're not expensive at all, so give them one more chance and see what they have. And one of those knives was the Cohort. And just a reminder, the knife I'm bringing in right now is not the Cohort. This is just another a preview. This is a rake knife. But one of those knives was the Cohort. And I picked it up and I liked it a lot. It was a liner lock. It was a small little knife and looked cool, felt cool. Decent little EDC, right? Well, that was the one that caused all the problems that fractured my relationship with them, because one day I was sitting on my patio just playing with the knife, opening it, closing it, and I put just a little bit of pressure on the spine while it was in the locked position, and the darn thing just closed on my finger. Closed on my left forefinger. Really bad. And you know what's funny about that is if you look at my hands, with all the times that I've been cut badly by knives, you would think that you would see a ton of scars. The cut from that Cohort was like right here, right between these two knuckles. And I can't even tell that it happened. And I guess the reason for that is that most of my knives, I keep really sharp. And when I do cut myself, it is deep, but it's thin. It's a thin, clean cut. And so it takes a long time to heal, but, the actual entry point is thin, so it goes back together pretty quickly, and the scar is small and almost unnoticeable. So it's weird, because like I said, should be right here. And it was deep. It went almost all the way down to the bone, and it bled and bled and bled. And I definitely decided to get Gerber involved with that because, the lock failed. I wasn't doing anything stupid. I mean, it was just a little bit of pressure and bam, out of the blue, I was in bad shape. So I emailed them and got a reply almost immediately, and they apologized profusely, and I sent them some pictures, and then they asked me to send them the actual knife. And I did. They wanted to test it, to their credit. And to their credit, they issued a recall for the entire model, just for safety reasons. So it definitely was not me. I wasn't the only person who had that issue. And what they did to take care of me was they said, hey, we will give you a credit to our store online in the amount of your Cohort, and you can go and, pick out a knife. And I thought that was pretty cool of them. And they, they said, pick out a knife, and if the knife that you want costs extra, then just send us a check and we'll be all set. And I said, fine, we'll do that. So I picked out a knife, and it was the mini Applegate. I can't remember the actual name of the model, but it was like an assisted opening like a stiletto kind of dagger looking knife that they have a larger size tactical version of, and I just thought it was cool looking. So I picked it up, and it was $5 and change extra. So I sent them a check for $5, and my knife came in the mail. And again, to Gerber's credit, they never cashed the check. And I figured, I had a pretty deep laceration, and they probably realized that and figured it wasn't worth the $5. So, let's just not cash the check, give the guy a knife, and be done with it. So that was cool. And I got the knife and opened it up, and just because of my fear of what had happened previously, I immediately did some spine whack tests. And the darn thing failed immediately. I mean, it failed right off the bat. And it wasn't even like a vicious spine. I mean, I just hit it a few times, moderately, and the liner lock failed right off the bat. And it was frustrating. But I wasn't really mad. It was frustrating, but at that point I was like, Gerber's quality is done. I'm over it. And so I basically just wrote them off for quality reasons. I wasn't gonna complain, and I wasn't gonna write another email. The customer service people had been just fine, so no big issue there, but the quality of the knife wasn't there, and so, I had a bad knife, and I returned it and got another bad knife, and lesson learned, and now I'm done with Gerber, right? So no harm, no foul, really, just out the value of the knife, and that's that. But I know not who to buy from anymore. Know who not to buy from anymore. Anyway, so fast forward, because the story should be over, but fast forward to May. And this was in November, like I said. I think it was November of 2013. Fast forward to May, 6 months later, and I'm checking my bank account, and I see a $5 charge from Gerber. Guys, I shit you not. I don't swear on this channel very much, but geez, I shit you not. These guys cashed my $5 check 6 months later. 6 months later. And I was livid. I was so pissed off. I couldn't understand why you would do that. As a person who is responsible for the running of a business, which I am, if I or any of the people who I work with made a bookkeeping error like that, and we forgot to process a payment for 6 months, and it was only like $5 or whatever, if we found that, we would just rip it up and throw it out. Wouldn't you? Wouldn't any smart business person, especially one who is like in charge of a massive corporation like Fiskars and Gerber, wouldn't you just eat the $5 and be like, oh, okay, whatever? Instead, they cashed it. They also still had my home address. They had my email. They had my phone number. They could have contacted me and said, hey, Joey, well, that's my name. I'm not sure if I've ever told anyone that, but hey, Joey, by the way, I apologize. We just found this check that you wrote all these months ago. We are going to cash it. Please be aware that this will be hitting your account in the next 3 to 4 business days. That would have been great. That kind of notification. Thankfully, it was a $5 check, and, I would never have noticed had I not been checking my account at that time. And, I wasn't in a situation where, $5 could hurt me, but a person's finances are extremely private. How people handle their money is up to them. And it's really nobody else's business. And what I mean by that is it's completely feasible for some people, and I've known people to do this, who only move money into their checking account when they're going to use it, and they don't keep any money in their checking account. So had that been like a $20, $30, $40 check, for some people, that could have bounced and been a huge pain in the ass. And so I was livid, guys. I was just absolutely irritated about it. So I blew them up. I emailed them and blew them up, and I was like, this is absolutely ridiculous. You could have seen the issue that I had with my finger and all that stuff. And for you, 6 months later, to cash this check, it's just not acceptable. It's just very, very bad business practice. And I let them know that, and I said, your product quality has been crap, and now your customer service is crap, and so I'm completely done. And I never heard back from them. Never heard back. So that was in May of 2014. Never heard back. And again, that should be the end of it. Done with Gerber, right? But it's not, because the plot thickens. Because, fast forward to 2 years later, March of 2016. March of 2016, guys, 2 years later. Again, I think this is completely over. So this is last year, only a few months before I started this channel actually, and I'm in Asheville, North Carolina. I'm with my wife. We're there just taking a few days off, having a quick mini vacation. We'd been married for only a couple months at that point. And we're having a good time together, hitting a bunch of breweries, walking around town, and I got an email on my phone, and it's from Gerber. And I was like, what is this? What do these guys want? And I look at it, and the email, and I'm going to paraphrase, but the email says something to the effect of, "Thank you very much for your participation and your feedback. We have closed your case, and attached is a $20 credit for our online store." And I showed it to my wife, and I was like, what is this? I just got a $20 credit? Okay, and, she sort of rationalized it as, well, maybe there were a lot of legal issues because that model was discontinued, and it took all that time for them to actually, go through everything, and now your case is finally closed, and they just want to make it up to you a little bit. And that sort of made sense, so I thought, maybe I'm going to try them out. I'll never buy another folder from them, but maybe I'll go on their website and use this $20 towards a multi-tool or a fixed blade, and that would be cool. Maybe I will give them another chance. Once I get home from this little vacation, I will check that out. Well, I didn't get that chance because the next day I get another email from these guys, and I cannot make this up. I cannot stress how stupid this is about to get. All right, so Gerber sends me another email, and they say, "We apologize. We should not have sent you a $20 credit yesterday. We were doing a survey for people, or we had people doing a survey about our customer service, and anyone who did the survey got a $20 credit to the online store. You mistakenly received that email because you did not take part in that survey. For the inconvenience, we will give you a $10 credit to the online store." Okay, stop right there. These guys are just out of their minds. I showed that email to my wife and I said, what the hell are these guys thinking? So you make the mistake of sending me a $20 credit after 2 years. After 2 years of no contact, you send me a $20 credit. You realize you shouldn't have sent me that, and instead of just eating the $10, again, this is a multi-million-dollar corporation. Instead of eating the $10, the extra $10, you take the $10 away and make it a $10 credit, where they actually, for a moment, almost had the opportunity to win back a client, a customer, who they injured pretty badly. They had a chance to win him back, and instead, they just screwed it all up again. And I wasn't even mad. It was just comical. I mean, it's so comical at that point that, why would you even send that second email? Why not just give the $20? If you make an error, don't compound it by making yourself look more stupid. And that's what Gerber had done the entire way. They just continually did things to make themselves look worse. They didn't apologize and fix it and be done. They just kept compounding their mistake after mistake after mistake. And it was just silly. I don't want the $10 credit. I didn't even want the $20 one, but it was a almost decent enough incentive to get me back in the door. Crack that door open just a little bit and get the chance to win me back as a customer. Instead, they just admitted that they were stupid again and had a stupid way of handling their stupid mistake. And that just lost me for forever, no doubt. No going back at this point. And I understand completely that the person who deals with customer service and marketing and the organization of all that kind of stuff has nothing to do with the manufacturing of knives. I get that. But it is very telling that a company that has quality issues across the board with a lot of their folding knives also has the same kind of organizational issues on the other side of it. It is a company of discord across the board from everything that I've seen. And there's nothing in my experience that points to anything else. And the problem with that, from Gerber's point of view, I would say, would be that, let's say we're talking about cable providers. In my town, there's 2 cable providers. They both suck. They're terrible. but you have to pick your poison if you want to have cable. And you have to deal with it, and they don't have to be any better, because if you want cable, you have to deal with one of those two companies. But with pocket knives, we've got tons of awesome options. Tons of great companies making great products at good prices. One of the best ones that I was just talking about, here you go. Kube. $15 for this knife right here. And it's better built than any Gerber that I ever held in my life. So, we have options and we have choices. And over the past 5 years even, a ton of new upstart companies have come in and created a niche for themselves in the marketplace. And Gerber is just not doing the things that they need to in order to hold on to their stake in it. And so it's unfortunate. I would like to see them do better, but they haven't shown me a single thing to make me believe that that will ever happen. And my personal experience has completely eliminated them from anyone that I would decide to deal with in the future. So, yeah, that is it. That is the Gerber story, guys. So, thanks for watching. I know it was a little bit long-winded, but wanted to get all that out. Any questions, comments, complaints, suggestions, any good experiences with them or any other company, or bad experiences, let me know in the comments down below. Always interested to hear about how other companies' customer services are. All right, so thanks very much for watching, and I will talk with you soon. Have a good one.